Hi and welcome to another Ghost Detective programme, and as you can see we're on a strange site today. We are at the former Royal Ordnance Depot in Weedon, which is to the west of Northampton on the A5. And why are we here? Well, there's a lot of businesses up here, there's a lot of history to this place. It was actually built during the Napoleonic Wars between 1804 and 1816 when it was finished, but it evolved over the years after that. But there's a lot of businesses up here now, and they've got a lot of things going on, and quite a few ghost stories going on as well. So I thought we'd come across here. One place in particular is Building 1, and that's the one we're going to be visiting. But before I do that, I want to introduce you to a person who is a member of the team. And Tess, thank you for joining us here.
You're welcome.
At this very noisy Weedon depot.
Yeah, and a bit windy as well.
Yeah. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you started in the paranormal?
Yeah, I met yourselves about 15 plus years ago. Been working with you ever since, doing investigations, talks, things like that. Really having good fun, learning a lot as well, and experiencing a lot. I'm sensitive to spirit, but I also like to work with the natural side of things.
Yeah.
To see whether anything natural is causing experiences. I pick up a lot of things spiritual wise as well, so I kind of do a bit of both.
Yeah.
In the investigation side.
Yeah. Sorry about the noise traffic, but this is a very busy place with a lot of businesses on board here. And the reason I asked Tess to come on and do this interview is because we did an investigation here. Now, you will be meeting a few of the people who were on that investigation, and you'll be meeting the business owners as well when we do the interviews. But I wanted to ask Tess about the investigation from her angle, how it went. Now, back in 2019 we did an investigation here in the November, and it was pretty cold.
Yes.
Even inside the building. They got no heating. So what were your expectations leading up to it?
Well, like with every investigation, I just go in with an open mind and just take it as it comes and just experience what I experience. Yeah. So you just go with whatever happens and see what happens. Yeah.
Now, you picked up on quite a few things when we were in the first business on the first floor of Building 1. Yeah. Where Mike Smith had his business there. How was that for you? I mean, did you because we had guests along. Yeah. Not members of the public in general, but business owners from here, from round here. They came along and they'd never done this before, had they?
No, they hadn't, no.
Was watching them interesting, how they started to learn how to do things? Yeah,
it was interesting because to start with, everybody was kind of nervous, not knowing each other, sort of not knowing what to expect as well, just sitting around chatting amongst themselves. So it was nice to see as the evening worked on, people getting on, getting to know each other, people sort of settling a bit more. Yeah,
they sort of gelled, didn't they?
Yeah,
it was really good to see that.
Yeah,
and then we sort of moved down to Vintiques and we went into that business. And how did you find it down there?
I loved it down there because I love antiques anyway, and I do something called psychometry sometimes, where I can hold an object and sense things from it. So antiques is a real good thing for me, and all antiques down there hold some kind of energy anyway, because the previous people who've owned them, their energy gets imprinted. So it's going to be kind of an active place to do an investigation.
Now, you started to pick up on one person in particular. Now, that was a gentleman who's quite distinctive.
Yeah, his energy was actually quite strong in there. He seemed quite happy to be there and at home, just walking up and down. He was, I'd say probably in his 50s. I didn't pick up a name with him, but he was wearing a flat cap, checked shirt, waistcoat, the kind of trousers that cut off here at the bottom.
+4s,
big boots. He kind of come across as being like a hunter, a gunsman of some sort.
Yeah, Yeah, I think the higher the military rank, I mean, they used to go hunting on the farms around here with the farm owners and that, and probably on a pheasant shoot or something like that. It wasn't uncommon at that time.
Yeah.
So, and we're talking about this place closed in 1965, so it wasn't uncommon to do that then. I remember I lived on a farm, and there are certain times a year that was it. It was the shooting season, basically.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So that's what you're sort of describing, a gentleman of that sort of persuasion.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to. I'm going to ask if we can do another investigation, and so fingers crossed. We're going to pop into building 1 now. So stick with us, stick with the interviews, and see what happens. Now we've moved inside into building 1 at Weedon Depot, and we've moved into one of the businesses here, and this is Vintiques, and I'm with business owner Liddy Smith. Hello Liddy, how are you doing?
Hello, good to see you.
Could you tell me a little bit about the business when you started here, and a little bit about probably the former people that were here as well that you've heard about?
Yeah, so I took over about 5 years ago from the previous owners had experiences in here of jewellery flying across the walkways and hearing footsteps and things like that. Since I've been here, me on my own has had practically nothing happened.
How do you actually feel when you're here on your own?
I feel fine.
You're okay?
It's never been creepy, even at night when it's dark. It's always got a really good atmosphere here.
Is it one of those things that you've heard about, the rumours of things that you've heard about, and that puts it into your mind, do you think?
I don't know, I'm always interested to hear what's been going on, but I never feel scared or worried about it.
Interesting. Now we'll be listening or hearing from other people that have had businesses on site, and people that have got, because now this is a place where you've got different sellers here, haven't you?
Yeah. So we rent out units, and we've got different dealers, about 30 dealers here.
Yeah, and we will be talking to a couple of the dealers here who have had experiences themselves, and they were on a previous investigation here in 2019, November in 2019. So that will be interesting for you to listen to that. So thank you, Liddy, for that. Okay, and we're still in Vintiques in building number 1, and we've got Mike Smith here. Now, Mike's had businesses before up at Weedon Depot here, the Royal Ordnance Depot, and he was on an investigation that we did, like I mentioned earlier, in November in 2019, and it was rather interesting, the investigation, because we started in Mike's business and then we moved into here, into Vintiques, to finish off the investigation. Now, Mike, you've had in your previous business, you had things happening around you. You noticed things. You noticed customers that weren't actually there. You actually moved forward to let somebody walk behind you. Yeah. Can you explain that to us, what it was like actually working in this place?
Yeah, so it was interesting, that's for sure. You just felt that there was something around, and it was so vivid that you'd actually make space for them, like you said. So working on the coffee machine, I actually stepped forward to let somebody walk past me, and I'm thinking, well, who's that? We used to walk past a couple of the bookcases, and there'd be a shadow, and in some cases it wasn't just a shadow. It was someone wearing blue, light blue trousers, blue top, and you go back to speak to them, see if they're okay. Just trying to, you find things, and they're not there. We'd also have books appear on the floor, and we were pretty OCD, to be honest. But these books were from a totally different section, maybe 20 feet away, but fallen out of a bookcase that is actually packed. So there was no way this book could have fallen off the shelf. So we had lots of things happening with people that weren't there, that we potentially were there. And we had these little things happening where things were found where there was no reason why it should be there.
Now, that's interesting. When you mentioned about the books, were the books of a certain type? Were they reference books, or were they?
No, most of it was in the fiction area, and there wasn't any rhyme or reason, unless, of course, they were a critic. Some of them were pretty unusual, but nothing that would link them. and they weren't of a certain age either. They were all sorts of different ages, you know. So, but yeah, it was an interesting time up there.
Yeah. I mean, did the customers see anything?
We used to have two guys who used to come in, and they would always joke about it. But the one guy would never go into the bottom left-hand corner. He always felt that was something there. And it was we always knew that it was cold anyway in the business. But that area was very cold, and you could really see a difference in temperature, or feel a difference in temperature. And the windows were fine. You know, they're like the windows upstairs anyway. You know, in these old buildings, they do rattle and they do have drafts. But this was a real kind of definite change in temperature in this one area. Yeah. And bizarrely, you know, it was one of the areas where we sold less books. It was just one of those things, yeah, because it was part of the fiction area. And we would, you know, we'd always be updating, putting new books out and stuff. But that area always seemed to be the bit where we wouldn't be putting somebody out. There wasn't that many gaps, you know, and there were some good authors in there. You know, that's where the Stephen Kings were and things like that. So it was very unusual. Maybe people just hang around there too long.
Yeah. Now, isn't it interesting? I mean, you can imagine as soon as I heard something like that, it was one of those things where I needed to do an investigation. It really needed to be done, and you kindly gave us permission to do an investigation here during the evening. I mean, when you do businesses like this, it's very important. Try not to impact on people's business, on their day-to-day business, because the last thing they want is a film crew running around, or they've got customers around, and the customers don't want to be filmed either. So it was nice to be able to come into a building and have the run of it, if you like, and do a proper investigation. Now, I had an agenda, and the agenda was that I wanted people to understand how they could pick up on ghosts and spirits for themselves. A lot of people say they can't do it. And those blue trousers you mentioned earlier came into it again during the investigation, and we'll go into that in a minute or two. But what were your expectations leading up to the investigation itself?
Well, actually, I mean, you know, going back a long time, I've always kind of thought about, you know, what's out there and what's happening, and had various occurrences over the years. So I was really quite excited, to be honest, and knowing what was happening around in this building, this area, especially, you know, it'd be good to really kind of see if anything could get captured on evidence, sort of thing. And of course, you know, once we started talking to people about it, you know, we had some really other people were excited to do it, especially our son Charlie as well. I mean, he was really keen to be involved, and it was great. You know, it was not just what happened during the night, but the setup and the explaining of how the team was explaining how things were going to happen, what things to expect. It was really good. It was a real eye-opener to see actually what goes on behind the scenes. Yeah, and it was really nicely structured as well. You know, with the pendulum in the gallery, and then the various cameras set out. Yeah, it was a really good evening.
I'm glad you enjoyed that, because we really enjoyed doing it, because getting people into a position where they can contact ghosts and spirits, you need to get them so relaxed, because people are self-conscious of they're meeting somebody for the first time. The last thing they want to do is close their eyes and start asking for ghosts and spirits. I mean, it's unnatural, it's not something you do every day, so you lead them gently into that phase. And I always remember, you actually said this when you came back from doing your pendulum, your telekinesis experiment with Tess. You said, I've always got no personality whatsoever. And it's one of those things where, as you walked away, I've got this on video, as you walked away and you said that, we could hear you saying that in the room when you came back to us, the pendulum started to move. And I always remember that, because it wasn't footfall or anything like that, because you'd already moved away. Yeah. And the pendulum started to move, and I thought, I wish you could see this. Yeah, because we came down here, and then we had a really good session in the corner, and lots of people saying about what they could see, and a lot of Charlie was seeing things, and then one of the other investigators was seeing the same sort of thing, and they was collaborating each other. And then went back upstairs, there was all the marks in the sand. And he was like, how did that happen? Yes. Now that also, when you were talking about earlier, you were talking about books flying off the shelves and landing on the floor and that. Now, I left a digital recorder going up in the building where you got your business, and that was running all the time we were down here.
Yeah.
The only thing it picked up was a book landing on the floor, which you could hear the pages flicking as it landed.
Yeah.
That's the only thing it picked up. And then when we came down here, like you said, when we came down here, we were picking up on all sorts of things. But I was interested, your son Charlie, well, you said about blue trousers.
Yeah.
He said about blue trousers. He said he saw somebody sitting in the middle of the room on a chair, aggressively shouting at him to get out. They were wearing blue trousers.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, this blue trouser thing is a real thing.
Yeah.
It seems to be bright colours.
Yeah.
All the time. When you're mentioning about things that people see, it's bright colours all the time.
Yeah, and it kind of draws your eye to it. If it was just dark, because obviously, you know, in the bookcase that we had, and even in the room, you know, it's there's lots of shadow, and when it's dark, you don't think anything different.
Yeah.
But these are so vivid, and it was interesting because when you walk past, the blue trousers are so vivid, you can see them, but then you don't recognise any feet. You don't see anything because the trousers take you. So you think, well, what were they wearing on their feet? I don't know if they had any feet. You know, you just couldn't. It was just the trousers what drew your eye to it. So yeah, it's interesting.
And there was another very interesting point to do with your son. When we got to the end of the antiques here, all the cabinets, or a lot of the cabinets, have got glass, so you get a lot of reflections from people standing in front of one of the units. Will see a reflection of themselves. Now we were down at the far end there, and I was standing next to your son, and he was looking into one of the cupboards, and he thought you were standing next to him because he saw your legs and your feet.
Yeah.
When he looked up, you were nowhere near.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that was. I saw the look on his face.
Yeah. Because he'd had that. He was standing next to me, and he was telling me that he'd seen a lady in a white dress with red roses on it, and one of the investigators said exactly the same thing.
Yes.
And they were like dancing. It felt like the people were dancing and they were moving, a lot of movement. And then he went to say something, and then he saw these legs in the mirror, and he turned around, and I'd gone, and he said it looked like somebody was standing next to me, and then followed you.
Yes.
And you know, and it was strange. I mean, you always kind of like try and tie it to things you know. But even down in that corner, we had the cigar smoke, and one of your investigators said about a gentleman with an injury on his back, not life-threatening, but an injury. And I started picking those things up, and the cigar smoke, especially pipe smoke, I honestly thought that was my grandfather.
Yeah.
Because he obviously never been here, but he's connected to me, and like you said, he explained that you know you don't have to be physically attached to a place. Spirits come from wherever, based on where you are, or who you are, or objects, whatever. So I always thought that, and it kind of, you always kind of think that there's always someone looking after you.
Yes.
You know, and so if someone's following me behind it, maybe it was him, who knows? But it was amazing.
When I explain to people that when family members, when they move on, when they die, they stay with a person all the time.
Yeah.
And it was Corinne West actually that picked up on this, and she isn't a medium as such. She just picks up on things every now and then, and she kept that going almost all the way through the investigation.
Yeah.
I was quite impressed with that, and I could see that you were interested in the things that she was saying, and I didn't realise what it was until you told us at the end.
Yeah, because that was the thing. So when my grandfather passed, I didn't get to say goodbye to him in the hall in the chapel of rest. It was something I was going to do, and then before I knew it, the time had gone, and nobody had told me, and I felt I didn't feel quite right by not being able to say goodbye. And I used to drive past where they live, and I'm convinced that I've sat in traffic. I mean, this is years ago now. I've sat in traffic in Birmingham, and I would see the back of my grandfather walking into the local shop where he'd go every single day for his groceries, you know. And occasionally you'd have cigar smoke or pipe smoke, and that's what he used to have all the time. And even to the point that she said that he got a glass of whiskey in his hand. He's thinking, well, okay, smoking, whiskey, but it just it was him, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it was quite good to have that sort of experience.
Yeah.
And I'll hold to it. I'll hold on to that thing that it was him.
I think when we'd finished the investigation and we'd put all the bits and pieces together, we had more questions than we had answers to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was one of those things where I would love to come back and do something else here on a similar basis, you know, in the future and do something like that. And you never know, it may happen, it may not. So keep watching and we'll find out what's going on. And Mike, thank you so much for the interview. You've been brilliant. And we'll catch you again soon, I hope.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. Hi, and welcome back. And we are still in Vintiques in Building 1. And we have Neil and Carol are with us, and they are dealers and they've got units in the business here. And they've had experiences as they actually work and help out in the shop as well. And they've got experiences that are quite interesting. Now, can you just tell us about some of the experiences you've had over the years?
Well, we've been here sort of since day one.
Yeah.
And we noticed down in Unit 10, where I've got my tools, there was a lantern, not ancient by any means, quite a modern lamp. And one morning it was swinging very steadily left to right, about 4 inches off the centre. And I stood behind the counter just there and watching it, and Steve and Barbara came in, another dealer. And we were talking, and I said, Steve, come and see this lantern. And he walked across, and Steve's very, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And he stood there, and he said, it's windy then, isn't it? I said, no, it's not windy, watch. And this lantern's now gone about 5 inches off the centre.
Right.
And he walks down there, and as he goes down, it goes more. And he gets there, and he puts his hand on it, and it stops it. So he said, yeah, bitch. Came back up here, and as he's walking back up, I said, look, Steve, the lantern's now going like this. And he's come back to here, and he stood there, and he said to Barbara, come and see this. And she stood there and said, I'm not going down there. And we had, down in Unit 7, and you could see it from the counter quite clearly, the tags were going from vertical to horizontal and back again. And as I walked down, they stopped. And as I walked back up, they started again. And this wasn't once or twice, this is quite a few occasions it did it. But no draft, it was quite a warm day, which is very unusual in here. And it was just so bizarre, but the lantern I couldn't get over, because we sold it probably about a month later, but it still used to every now and again swing with no wind, because the backside of the building is quite well protected. So it was very interesting to see that.
I was interested because a lot of the things you were saying, I mean, was it a customer or was it somebody saw a pair of white legs in boots walking around?
I don't recall that.
No.
Yeah, somebody, whether it was a customer I was talking to, but they were walking across the bottom end there, and that was quite interesting.
In the first year, when Steve and Rachel were here, they had a gong down in number 9, and Steve has always said that 9 and 3 are the places you feel that something's different.
Yeah.
And we went into 3 for a year or so, didn't we? We came out of there, didn't do any good. And the gong was a Victorian one, stood probably 18-20 inches diameter.
Right.
And they were both here on their own. All of a sudden, boing. And Steve said, that's odd. So I walked down and nothing. And the clapper is actually on the floor now. So he's put it back on the top, come back to the counter. An hour later, it's done it again.
Oh, right.
A little bit odd, a little bit bizarre.
Yeah.
When they were setting up, they were here sort of sometimes early
Late,
evening.
yes, yeah.
She would feel that there was somebody around. She couldn't put a finger on
No.
it, but she just felt that there was
Somebody
something.
around.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, as I say, it's not horrible. They're
No.
very friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what people think. People
Yeah.
think when you're talking about ghosts and spirits, that it's going to be scary.
Yeah.
It's not, is
No,
it? It's
no.
it's comforting to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, there's never been anything nasty. I think a cross has fallen off the wall.
Yes, yeah.
That was
yeah.
when Rachel was here.
That was at Unit 3. So,
Yeah,
yes,
so-
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
sort of say that.
But there was one occasion when Laurie up in the Booksmith came down one morning, and the big grey doors that are above the central staircase were open. And Mike, when he'd set up the booksmith, had put cabinets across the doors, so there's no way can you get to unbolt these doors.
Yes.
And I had to get a ladder to get up and shut these doors because they'd all been unbolted, and there's 2 bolts, one on the top and one on the side. But these doors are actually open. You could actually walk out through them.
And there is no way you
No.
can. No, I saw the bookcases
Yes.
and they got books in, and there was, you couldn't.
No way. No.
Yeah, yeah. In actual fact, that's what drew me back when Laurie told me about the door being open. That's what drew me back to do the investigation. Now, you were on this investigation that we did, and you when we did the EMR experiment, which people do know about, and it was quite interesting what you came out with.
It was the train one that really got me.
Yeah, because you heard the
I mean,
train.
I live in the village and I know the direction of the trains. I can lay in bed and know which way they're going. And I didn't know about the 2. I knew about one rail disaster, but I didn't know about the second one. And it was weird because I heard a train going north, and I was quite, I wouldn't say away, but I was sort of resting. And I heard a northbound train, and then 2 minutes later, 90 seconds, I heard a southbound. But the southbound all of a sudden just exploded, as far as I was concerned. And it made me, I had a shiver down my spine, and I jumped out of a ready chair. I mean, it was really off-putting.
Yeah.
And then silence. And I also picked up there at the same time this strange musty sack smell.
Yeah.
And that was really odd.
Damp,
Yes.
yeah.
And soap, carbolic soap.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, it's a booksmith, you know, it's books, you haven't
Yeah.
got anything like that in there. And I found that was really, a bit spooky,
Yeah.
to put it, you know.
Yeah. And yourself, Carol, you saw children
dancing, but in old sort of Victorian dresses. Nothing. It wasn't modern.
No.
It was, but.
Did you say it's like Ring of Roses?
Yes,
they're doing?
yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you said that they did have children's parties up there.
Yeah, I used to actually come to them. I
Yeah.
used to come to the Christmas parties
but I
here
think it
in the
would
early
be
60s.
earlier than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Oh, thank you. Not Victorian.
No,
not
no.
quite. Not quite. Yeah.
But yeah, definitely. And then I think there was a smell of TCP up there as well.
Yeah.
Lots of different sort of
And when we
smells.
decided to come down here, and you were both quite active in what we were getting on round here. And at one point, I do remember at one point, we were down the far end, and we were just about to move away, and you spotted somebody walking up towards the
Yes, yeah. And we
Can
were
you
all locked
describe
in. It was a strange experience because everyone was basically down in the bottom corner in 9, where we've had a lot of experience of different things. And they were coming back out and coming down this way, and I was here ready to, you know, make sure the lights were out and we locked up. And there was definitely somebody had gone out the door, and I'm thinking, well, no, because they haven't, because we're all in here still. And when we got upstairs, I sort of did a quick head count. No, we've got who we've got. So who was that one out the door?
Yeah.
Which was a little bit bizarre, but...
Yeah. Now that's interesting because while we were doing the investigation down here, Mark, who is one of the team investigators, he stands away from the group and observes from a different angle. So he is away from the group. He didn't spot anything because he was in this area. He didn't spot anybody walking away. But you have to be in the right place. You can be standing next to somebody, you'll see something and they won't. So that's something to remember. Now, what was when we were talking about when we started the investigation at the other business there, what were your expectations? Because I did ask Mike the same thing.
I don't know really. I mean, I always think there's something. But yeah, it's just again sort of try and wait and see what goes on.
Open-minded.
Yes, yeah. But sort of quite.
Was it what you expected?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was surprised sort of at all the different things that the other people that were there had experienced. But
Did you feel self-conscious when you first started?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you
Yeah.
think, like being back at school. I'm not going to put my hand up.
Yes, yeah. There is a lot of
Yeah.
that, but it's when you start to relax in
Yes.
the company of the people you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, when I try to explain to people that when you're trying to do something like this, it doesn't matter who the person is who's leading a meditation. There is no way you are going to be able to meditate when you meet somebody for the first time. You're not going to be able to do it. You need to gel as a unit when we're working together. And when we got down here, everybody was working together.
Yes. Yeah, I think we felt more comfortable.
Yes.
Because at one time at the far end there, I was watching, and we were doing a slight meditation point. Everybody was swaying
Yes, that's right.
together,
Yeah.
and they'd got their eyes closed, and they were in sync. Everybody, I thought we're on ship here, but it was brilliant to see that everybody was working so closely together.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking to me, and
very much.
hope to see you again soon.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed that programme. I certainly enjoyed making recording the interviews. I'm going to do a programme full of outtakes. I tell you what, you're going to love it. And I'm going to do, at the end of this series, I am going to do a programme full of outtakes. So something for you to smile about anyway. So thank you for watching the show today, and there will be many more. Goodbye.